as a proud New Yorker and as a proud Jewish New Yorker to join in solidarity with this interfaith coalition, standing up and saying, no, we will not tolerate and we should not allow, and Madison Square Garden should not allow the spewing of hate from a leader whose organization has fomented violence and promoted hatred against Muslims, against Sikhs, against Dalits, against Christians. That is not the tradition of New York City. And we should not allow, and Madison Square Garden should not allow the spewing of hate from a leader whose organization has fomented violence and promoted hatred against Muslims.
Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtadar Khan, your host. And today I'm going to talk about how New York is exploding with protests and condemnation of Mohan Bhagwat's, the RSS president's or leader speech, actually on a very fake topic of unity and universality and oneness in New York I think it is on August 29th. So RSS is Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh is a right-wing Hindu nationalist organization that desires to make India a country of only one religion. They want everybody in India to become Hindu. They force often people to do what they call as ghar wapsi, to become Indian and Hindu. They equate being Indian with being Hindu. And so in their vision of India, there is no room for any religious minorities, whether they are Muslim, Christians, Sikhs, or even Buddhist. They also have a very peculiar adherence to caste system. So RSS is essentially an upper caste movement that wishes to keep a large majority of Indians who belong in the Hindu hierarchy to backward classes, to scheduled tribes, to untouchables, to Dalits, in human conditions without basic fundamental human rights. They have, in the last 100 years of their existence, systematically eroded the democratic and pluralistic ethos on the basis of which India was founded. India is a great democracy, a country of many religions and communities and ethnicities and languages. And the greatest thing about India was its unity in diversity. But in order to create a new kind of unity, a new vision of India, which only privileges a upper caste Hindu nationalism, RSS has systematically penetrated various Indian institutions, from the government to the police to the parliament. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and many of the members of the BJP's cabinet belong to RSS. They have been lifelong members of this organization, pursuing a vision of a Hindu Rashtra or a Hindu nationalist India. So RSS has fomented violence, hatred, divisiveness within India, tried to erase the identity of Muslims. Muslims have lived in India for more than 800 years. There is a very deep cultural and historical relationship between India and Islam and Muslims. Most Muslims today, there are over 22 crores or 220 million Muslims in India. They are all Indians in many ways. And there's an attempt to erase them, their identity, their heritage, and through fictitious means to controlling universities, through controlling how history is taught. And since the election of Prime Minister Modi at the top of the government, and in the past 12 years, they have systematically changed names of roads, changed names of cities, rewriting history books, dropping the history of Islam and Muslims, demonizing Christians, trying to destroy Christian churches. On a daily basis, you will see Hindutva thugs walking around openly in the city, lynching minorities, walking into churches, beating up priests, accusing Christians and Muslims of trying to convert Hindus, passing laws against religious consciousness, freedom of religion in India. So in many ways, RSS and its attendant, sometimes when you just focus on the RSS, you miss the point. RSS, because of its long history and its systematic and rather, shall we say, grounds up men-only organization, literally hundreds of thousands of branches, have spread the Hindu ideology and spawned many, many thuggish Hindutva groups like Bajrang Dal and this Dal and this Dal. Just Google the word Sena in India and you will see how many different, Sena means army, how many different kinds of Hindu nationalist armies exist there, attacking interfaith couples, targeting people who are practicing any other religion, lynching people on the simple accusation that they are eating beef. Can you imagine if this group was allowed to participate in civic society in the United States or strengthen itself in the US? They would be standing outside every McDonald's and Burger King and lynching people, killing them, beating them to death on streets like they do in India for eating beef. So Hindu nationalists should be seen as a Sangh Parivar, as a family of institutions with RSS as its core, an organization that spreads hatred towards others. If RSS was what it claims today in the United States, then India would not have religious and other problems at all. Just go to any social media, whether it's Instagram or X, formerly Twitter, and just Google religious violence by Hindu nationalists, and on a daily basis you will see these thugs going around with the police watching, beating up minorities, destroying their properties, insulting them, humiliating them, etc. So this ideology of hate, which seeks to convert the entire India into a Hindu nation, is now coming to America. So Mohan Bhagwat, the leader of this organization, is scheduled to give a talk in Madison Square Garden. He probably does not understand America. He thinks that if I can get away with this in India, why can't I get away with it overseas? So he's going to go to Canada and I think also to UK, these English-speaking countries with large Indian diasporas. And he will spread hatred against Hindus who are of lower caste, against Indians who come from different religious backgrounds. But I'm so happy and I'm so proud to tell you that Americans are rejecting this hatred. America is a country where there is still a lot of freedom of speech. Okay, I criticize American policies. I criticize Donald Trump on this channel on a daily basis. And unlike in India, there is no banning of the channel or IRS harassing me to try to shut me down. So people like Mohan Bhagwat are taking advantage of that freedom of thought and freedom of religion and freedom of conscience, the very things that RSS will not allow in India. RSS is now taking advantage of that in the United States to bring its message of hate. And the goal is very simple. This is not about, this is about RSS trying to weaponize India's diaspora, which is extremely influential, very prosperous, very well off in the West. They not only want to tap them for their resources and their money so that they can enrich and strengthen RSS in India, but they also want to essentially recruit Hindus who are well off in the United States in the name of protecting the upper caste interests, as well as advocating for Hinduism as a civilization, as a national ethos of India. So I'm going to show you some clips about what is happening. A coalition has emerged, a coalition of interfaith groups led by Hindus for Human Rights. It's a Hindu organization which fights for equality and fundamental human rights in India. There are many Christian, many Sikh and Muslim organizations here. And not only that, but American organizations are standing up to this and speaking. So there is a very important US commission called the United States Commission on International Religious Freedoms, which monitors the absence or decline of religious freedoms in other countries, which has consistently been issuing statements, which has consistently been issuing, shall we say, reports every year, reminding and advising the State Department to be conscious and aware of the declining rights of minorities in India. Increasingly, people are beginning to take cognizance of this development. When Biden was president and Prime Minister Modi came to India, the Vice President Kamala Harris had a chat with Narendra Modi about the declining freedom of religion in India. In fact, when Barack Obama was president, this is way back, I think in 2015 perhaps, that he met with Modi and told him that in the land of Gandhi, democracy should be protected, and clearly indicating that at that time itself, he was worried about the declining status of India. Across the board, organizations which monitor religious freedom, which monitor democracy, have said India has declined as a democracy. Even Freedom House Index, which rates India as not free anymore, less than free, and the VDEM, a Swedish think tank which measures the quality of democracy, has essentially said India is an electoral autocracy. So there is a constant awareness globally. For example, the freedom of press in India is ranked 157 or 156. I mean, right at the bottom, there is no freedom of thought, no freedom of conscience. Everything is beginning to decline pretty rapidly in India. So RSS is celebrating its 100 years, and this is an organization which is not even registered in India. It is kind of ironic. It has no accountability, no legal accountability, no financial accountability. Where does its resources come? How does it spend its resources? How does it manage to run hundreds of thousands of branches? Why are the members of RSS taught military techniques? Why are they taught how to use weapons? And what are the books that they use? How do they portray religious minorities? There has been no study, no inquiry. Yes, academics have written books about it and exposed RSS as a hateful supremacist organization. But in the West, it has been ignored to a great extent, because until now they had limited their activities primarily against Muslims and primarily in India. And given the state of Islamophobia in the world, most groups in most countries, people didn't care that there was an organization that was perpetrating violence against Muslims. But now that they have also started committing violence against Christians and attacking them, trying to prevent them from preaching and practicing their religion, this is something that both J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio should take note of, because they are such strong advocates for religious freedom for Christians and freedom of speech for conservatives, that they have not yet fully awakened to the reality of how the current government run by Prime Minister Modi, who is a lifelong member of RSS, has demonized and oppressed Christians in India. They are now passing laws which could lead to Christians losing all their churches and religious places in India. So that is the reality in India. But now what we see is that, at least thanks to Mohan Bhagwat, his arrival in the United States has awakened many Americans to the reality of Hindu nationalism and RSS. And you can see, for example, this is a statement by the United States U.S. Commissioner of International Relations Freedom, Mr. Gene Mills, who says RSS leaders, even when affiliated with the Indian government, should not be honored with high-level meetings or diplomatic courtesies. Instead, the U.S. government should focus on imposing sanctions on RSS members found responsible for violence, etc. So USCIRF has been recommending this consistently, I think, for the past 5-6 years, and alerting the State Department. The State Department, because of its national security interests and geopolitics, needing India as an ally against China, until very recently ignored all of this, because they said, okay, we need India to fight China. We need India as a bulwark against China. So if it kills a few Christians and a few Muslims, we can look the other way. The US government is used to doing this, like they look away when Israel kills and commits a genocide in Gaza. But there are others. So I'm going to show you a few clips to give you an idea. So for example, the number 2 of RSS, this is Mohan Bhagwat, who is here in the US. It reminds you of the Nazis, and their ideology is inspired by the Nazi ideology, by the way. So in many ways, you could say an Indian Nazi is in the US today. His number 2 was here in the US, and I did a show, and I actually wrote an article about it in the Frontline magazine. They were showcased by Hudson Institute, a conservative think tank in Washington, D.C. You see, RSS has now a lot of followers in the United States, and many of them are very well off, so they can literally, everything is for sale in the US these days. Politicians, you can see how AIPAC spends money to buy a politician's conscience, and then they deny reality of what's going on in the Middle East. And similarly, RSS is probably spending a lot of money to get think tanks to front them here in the US. So Hudson Institute hosted the number 2 person from RSS, Dattatreya Hasbale. And it was ridiculous to see the kind of comments he was making, which were so far from reality and truth. It's unbelievable. But NPR did a pretty good job of exposing him by interviewing him. So if you are interested, go back and look at this or listen to this report, or you can read the transcript. In a rare interview, a leader of the world's largest right-wing group talks to NPR. So there is an attempt by RSS to improve its image globally because, like I said, they want to access the wealth and influence and power of the growing Indian diaspora. And they want to advocate in America the same exclusivist policies, undermining Hindus who are not from upper class and undermining religious minorities as they do in India. And you can see that some of their affiliates were so actively campaigning against Zohran Mamdani in the New York elections. So I'm now going to play the video that you saw in the beginning, the full video of Brad Lander, who won the New York primary in the very place, I think the Madison Square Garden falls in his constituency, and there's a pretty good chance that he's, inshallah, 99% chance that he will be in Congress by mid-November. See, this is what he had to say. The New Yorkers are protesting. I mean, this is an amazing picture of how there are trucks and buses going around reminding people as to a former member of RSS killed Mahatma Gandhi. RSS entry on India's political stage was by assassinating perhaps one of the greatest of Indians, who advocated for pluralism, for democracy, for religious tolerance, for interfaith. This one act captures the essence of RSS and Hindu nationalism. They want to destroy the secularity and pluralism that was inherent to Indian ethos. And they want to build an India, the kind which kills Gandhis rather than celebrates Gandhis as a great soul. Mahatma Gandhi, Mahatma means a great soul. And RSS, former RSS member, who then joined an even more right-wing organization, I think Hindu Mahasabha it is called, and he went and killed Gandhi. I want to play Brad Lander's full speech so you can get not full speech, a longer version of that, so you get a sense of how New Yorkers are reacting to it.
Here as a Democratic nominee for Congress in this district. I'm here as a Democratic nominee for Congress in this district where we're standing, as a proud New Yorker and as a proud Jewish New Yorker, to join in solidarity with this interfaith coalition, standing up and saying, no, we will not tolerate and we should not allow, and Madison Square Garden should not allow the spewing of hate from a leader whose organization has fomented violence and promoted hatred against Muslims, against Sikhs, against Dalits, against Christians. That is not the tradition of New York City. New York City is a place where we know everyone's safety is bound up together, and you fight for the rights of people who worship God differently from you, who look different from you, who speak a different language from you. And if you
So he is so much on the mark. New York City is one of the most pluralistic of all cities in the world. 45% of New Yorkers are born abroad. They come to America, they come to New York, regardless of your religion, regardless of your race, your color, your nationality, you are all New Yorkers. And that was so incredibly demonstrated when they voted for Zohran Mamdani. Even though he was portrayed as anti-Semitic and anti-Israel, 30% of Jewish New Yorkers voted for him. Among Jewish Americans, Zohran Mamdani is more popular than even the Prime Minister of Israel. So that tells you as to how, even though there is right-wing movements in America like MAGA, there is racism in America, there is a large segment of Americans who are extremely tolerant, who are very accepting of differences, whether your difference is racial or religious or ethnic or even ideological. So this is a very important statement that Brad Lander is making. Every time I listen to him, I become a fan of his. I also want to show you another protest speaker at that protest in New York, so you get an idea of what's going on in the United States. I think RSS has made a big mistake by coming here. Those days are gone where Modi could come here and the Ministry of External Affairs acts as if it's an event manager. They basically round up the diaspora and try to project that, oh, he's so popular abroad. No, he's not. He's just popular among the diaspora, which is quite different from being popular in New York. But here is another important spokesperson at that event.
On behalf of Hindus for Human Rights.
So she's speaking on behalf of Hindus for Human Rights here in the United States.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kylie Madhav, and I'm speaking to you today on behalf of Hindus for Human Rights. You've already heard a bit about who Mohan Bhagwat is and who the RSS are, so I won't belabor the point. But it bears repeating that they are a far-right extremist organization rooted in religious division, founded in the early 20th century, and heavily inspired by some of the most vile political movements of the 20th century.
So you can see that there is a coalition that has emerged. A coalition of Muslims, Christians, Jews, Sikhs, Dalits, New Yorkers who are beginning to protest and speak up about this issue. I'm sure there will be massive protests outside Madison Square Garden. And what is interesting is there will be lots of articles and commentaries and shows like mine that will be there. I would not have done this show if Mohan Bhagwat had not brought his hateful ideology to the United States. I don't want to see in America large groups of Hindu thugs going around beating people for eating beef or beating people for saying, oh my God, how can you date inter-religious communities and all this rubbish that goes on in India against religious minorities, bulldozing their assets on whatever pretext that the government can find. So all of that, we don't want that in the United States. Yes, we already have our own challenges. I will concede that with the rise of Donald Trump and MAGA. But if there is a resurgence going on in America, we are fighting back from across the country. You can see that not only people within the MAGA movement who have turned against Donald Trump and the hatred that his movement had spawned against minorities. And at this time, when there is a rising Hinduphobia and a rising anti-India sentiment in the United States, remember this. At this moment, there's a rising anti-India sentiment, whether it is about H-1B or the violation and abuse of the H-1B system that Indian companies and Indians have exploited to migrate to India. The hatred towards Indians that is now so clearly manifest, especially in Texas, where the right-wing government of the GOP is in power. So at this moment, when there is so much of anti-India sentiment on the rise, RSS coming here is not good for India or for the Indian diaspora. Go to your workplace. If you're a doctor, tell your people that, oh, I'm an RSS member or I support RSS in India, and then see what Christian patients of yours will do. Will they go to a doctor who hates Christians? Will you justify the violence against Christians that is happening in India on a daily basis? Or against Jews, or sorry, Muslims, or against Sikhs? So RSS coming to India at this moment to promote itself, and I think Mohan Bhagwat is also trying to promote his own image as a global leader. Now suddenly he will be the most popular or second most popular Indian in the world after Narendra Modi, is also undermining India's long-term interests, and especially the interests of the diaspora. RSS has played a very divisive role in India. The country is divided. And if the diaspora wants to bring that ideology here to the US, let me tell you, they're not doing anything good for the US, nor are they going to do good for India. Thank you for watching Conversations. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. Please like this video, share it with your socio-political network. And once again, thank you for watching Conversations. I'm your host, Muqtadar Khan. Take care.